Do you think that there's like a God?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Why do you think that there's absolutely not one?
I mean, depending on the God you believe in, the Christian God, the Muslim
Sure.
God, there's quite frankly no evidence. I'm sorry, there's
No
no
evidence?
evidence.
Sure. What
Zero
makes you say
evidence.
that?
And there's logical contradictions within the nature of God himself.
Okay. Well, let's take it one at a time, right? So we said there's no evidence for like the Christian God, say.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Christian. So like what would you say makes you think that there's no evidence? Like you haven't seen any yet, or you think that the evidence that exists isn't strong enough?
I mean, again, the definition of evidence is the available body of facts that present a certain, that lead to a certain
Sure.
conclusion. There's circumstantial evidence, and a lot of Christians, understanding you're a Christian, you'll probably point towards the resurrection. But again,
Yeah, the resurrection. There's pretty strong evidence for the resurrection, I
I
would say.
highly doubt that. In fact, there's
Sure.
there's contradictory testimonies of the evidence. For example, I don't know if it's Mark and Luke or Mark and Matthew, that one states
Okay.
that, you know, the thief said nothing on the cross. The other states that one thief said, "Forgive me," and the other one cursed him.
Well,
and
so
one said both
when
cursed him.
it doesn't say they didn't say anything, right? So just because one doesn't record a certain fact and then one emphasizes a certain fact isn't a contradiction, right? So like if a contradiction is things that both cannot be equally true at the same time. So if I say that a dog is an animal and I say that a dog is not an animal at the same time, that's a contradiction. If one gospel doesn't mention a specific thing a thief said, the other one does record it, it's not a contradiction. Both can be equally true, just one doesn't emphasize it.
The thing is, when we're talking in terms of the gospel, considering it's the gospel of God, you know, it's very important. We're talking like probabilities. Like,
Yeah.
what are the chances that it says one thing but not the other? Considering this is imperative to the Christian
Well,
narrative.
it's also for human authors, right? So they're emphasizing specific ideas. So like Mark would be emphasizing that Jesus is the Son of God. Matthew would be emphasizing the way that Jesus is the Messiah because it's towards the Jewish audience. Luke is emphasizing the Holy Spirit. And then John is a later gospel, which is most likely trying to fill in a lot of the stuff that the other gospels didn't mention. That's why there's like 90% new material in John.
Well, also
So-
the Gospels were written decades after Jesus passed away. Would you not say?
Yeah,
that
20 to
decreases-
60 years after, yeah.
Right. Would you not say that decreases the validity, considering it wasn't even at the time? So, you know.
Sure. Well, when it comes to ancient documents, right? Usually the time frame of when the documents are written after the events took place is very long after. 20 to 60 years is actually very early for the ancient world, and especially within an oral culture, one that emphasized the oral tradition instead of written documents. So the fact that we actually have 4 independent eyewitnesses or people who knew the eyewitnesses writing about these events that took place in the oral culture is pretty important.
I'd say the main stuff, the only real stuff I would say like would validify events in the Bible, perhaps
Yeah.
would be the writings from Josephus, Tacitus. You know, those are probably the
Later documents?
Yeah, I
I mean,
understand, but like,
It's still later. Why wouldn't we take the earliest documents?
yes, but there's definitely some narrative that they're trying to, you know, push with the
Yeah.
Bible, and they're encouraging.
Well, yeah, of
even at
course.
the time, I believe there's a verse that says, even at the time, some people didn't believe or believed it was a lie, but eventually,
Believed which thing was a lie.
for example, Jesus rising from the dead, or that he was the Son of God. I don't remember the exact verse, but I definitely know it says something
Well,
about.
in the Bible,
Yes,
well, there's like a certain passage that talks about them doubting, but it's not talking about them doubting the resurrection. It's them like doubting. It's right after the Great Commission, I'm pretty sure. They're like wondering like what's next, right? They're confused. Like they don't know because Jesus is about to ascend to heaven. They're confused on why he has to ascend because they thought that he was going to establish his kingdom on earth right then. So there was confusion, but it wasn't that they doubted he rose from the dead. Because all of them did believe that he rose from the dead. They physically touched him, they ate with him in group context. It's not that they're doubting his resurrection.
okay. Well, it's been a while since I've debated stuff like this, so I definitely need to
Yeah.
do it. But I do have something that I, you know, definitely want to ask a question that I find very important.
Yeah.
I've just got a question for you. Do you believe that Jesus was the only person who supposedly resurrected ever?
No, of course not.
Oh, do you know the verse where it says that people rose from the graves and walked around?
Yeah, in Mark.
Jerusalem?
Yeah.
It was in Mark. So how come that's only found in Mark but not in the other Gospels? It's only in Mark, considering
Sure.
that would be a crazy event. If we had some people like, I don't know, Charlie Kirk or Martin Luther King, people were assassinated, or even others,
Yeah.
rise from the grave and start walking around, wouldn't you hear it from like lots of places? But how come it's only in Mark
Yeah.
and not in Luke, John, or the other Gospels?
Sure. Well, just the absence of it being mentioned in other places doesn't mean that it's not historical, right? But hypothetically, let's say that you're right, that it's not historical. We should go for the ones that we can actually verify or not, because obviously I can't prove 100% that like Jesus turned water into wine, right? Because we can't like historically verify that because we don't have like stuff surrounding that. But there is certain things that we can verify, like Jesus's resurrection, because there is facts surrounding that we can historically verify, like his death, burial, that the disciples genuinely believed that he rose from the dead, to the point of their own torture and execution.
Oh.
So I would say that that's a pretty strong, we have a very strong basis to believe that the evidence points to the resurrection.
I mean,
And then, then we can talk about the other miracles and stuff. But the thing is, we should go to the ones that we can verify instead of ones that we can't say for sure.
I mean, honestly, grave robbing was quite common back then, so you know that's a possible explanation.
So Jesus' body was stolen.
I mean, that's definitely a certain possibility, a lot more
Sure.
actually than a supernatural
So
explanation.
yeah, so there is different explanations of the different stuff, but we have to ask what best explains the evidence. So would you die for something if you knew that it was false?
You don't think people don't die for beliefs that aren't true? I mean, you know.
No, that's not what I said. I said with the know it's false.
I mean, what we're talking about is that impossible? They very well could have been deluded. Are the odds? Are the
Yeah,
chances
so like if
that
it was
wrong?
one person dying for what they knew is false, I mean, even that's a stretch. I don't think anybody would, logically. Like if I know that red is red, and somebody said, hey, red is actually blue, I will never die for that.
Unless I have a narrative that I'm trying to push, or that you know I'm trying to become a martyr to further increase the the amount of people who believe in what I'm saying, then definitely make it a lot.
But then
stronger.
with that, that's just believing what you're saying. You're getting no benefit from it. You're just going to die, suffer, be tortured.
And how do we?
There's
know
no
they were
reason
the
to
only
do
ones
that.
I believe the only one was it. Just I don't know if it was like either
Peter, James, Paul.
Yeah, but I think
lots of
only
different
Paul was
people
verified.
for
I don't know if the other disciples actually been verified that they did die for their belief.
Yeah, so there is certain ones that don't have as strong of evidence, which I would agree with that.